Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today, your pushback channel. Thank you for joining this audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the increasing use of arbitrary power and arbitrary seizure of funds from bank accounts of private citizens and of seizing the assets and property of private citizens as a device to crush resistance to the globalist ideological project. Now, the rule of law and due legal process rules of evidence are sort of impartial, independent processes and procedures and structures that were designed, separation of powers and this sort of thing, to protect the rights of citizens and to prevent overreach of government power. But for the globalists, this all just gets in the way. It's just inconvenient. It's an irritant and it gets in the way. So they want to, and have, not want to have, perceived the law as an obstacle, the impartial administration of law as an obstacle to the globalist project. So they're simply dismembering it and dismantling it and turning it to their own purposes. So I want to talk about that, how the government is using arbitrary power, trampling over your legal rights, the Bill of Rights, the rule of law and due legal process. So if you're doing a truckers' blockade in Canada, for example, a truckers' blockade in Canada, then the government will use any and all powers. Overreach will bring the private sector in, and they'll pursue you with relentless vigor and go after you in every conceivable way. Again, freezing bank accounts and all sorts of stuff like that. But if you're Black Lives Matter, burning down cities and buildings and torching streets, then the government is powerless to stop you. They do nothing to stop you. So instead of going after those people, going after their funds, going after the resources, going after their donors, nah. The government is hands off there. But they're private citizens. We're the government. We can do nothing. The law won't let us. But if you're white truckers, complaining about COVID or something like that, then the government has unlimited powers and resources to go and pursue you in the law. Who gives a fuck about the law? We're fighting back against evil white people here, people that oppose globalization and the machinery and mechanisms of globalization. So we'll do everything we can to fucking crush them because they're getting in the way of the globalist project, and that we cannot tolerate. But why don't you go after the Black Lives Matter and Antifa? No. They're creating the social mayhem that assists and aids and abets the globalist project. We want that sort of mayhem on the street. So they're working for us. So we're not going to impede them or hold them to the same standard. But aren't they breaking the law and they beat people up and murder people and murder? No, who cares? They're supporting the globalist project. Fuck the law. Fuck the law. So against that sort of backdrop of attitude, we need just to understand the powers that Western governments are bestowing upon themselves to act arbitrarily. And there have been various, cases have been taken to the Supreme Court, and even the Supreme Courts in various jurisdictions, they won't necessarily condone the action, but they won't oppose it or stop it either. So now let's sort of take some examples that have been around for a bit. So Billie Jean goes into the government welfare office to try and get some sort of government payment or food stamps, could be anything, and so she says, "I've got a kid," for example. Doesn't need to prove she's got a kid, by the way. Just needs to allege it. Well, we're not going to give you anything till you tell us who the biological father is of the kid. Well, I don't fucking know. I had a million boyfriends over that time. We're not going to give you a penny till you tell us who it is. Who do you think it might be? Well, I don't know. It could have been Billy Bob, or it could have been Jimmy Jack, or could have been Mikey Mike. Maybe one of them. Okay, well, where did you live at the time? You lived in Smithville, and okay, well, here's a guy, Billy Bob Smith. Could it have been him? I don't know. I know you have to tell us. If you don't tell us, you don't get a penny. That's it. Oh, all right then. So she's under a lot of pressure here. She's got to give a name. So what they do afterwards, it's not her fault if they go crazy when they've got this name. Oh, it could have been Billy Bob Smith. Well, there are 3 Billy Bob Smiths, or 10 Billy Bob Smiths or whatever, but only one of them's got a steady job. And, if it's him, then you'll get a regular paycheck. You'll get a regular check out of him. child support and alimony and whatnot. So do you want to say it's him? Okay, sign this form. Now, the minute she signs the form, she's now signed a legal document for which she cannot be held accountable for perjury. So they'll say, well, she didn't really know. She was only signing a form. It's not her fault. She didn't know. But that document has now, the government now uses that to say, well, that is now a legal document. We can use that to go and chase Billy Bob Smith from Smithville. We can go after him because she signed it. Well, no, if she's incorrect, though, can't she be held accountable for perjury? No. She can't be held to any standard of accuracy. But we, the government, now can. That is our excuse to go after Billy Bob Smith. Well, what can you do to Billy Bob Smith? Anything we fucking want. We can raid his bank account. We can just go to the bank and say, well, any funds in the account of Billy Bob Smith, we want them. And that they'll give us that money. If Billy Bob Smith owns a property or a car or something, the repo men can be sent out to grab that, and we can sell that off and keep the money from it. If Billy Bob has got any, like he's got, I don't know, a fishing license or something like that, we can suspend that. We've got this vast array of powers. We can attack Billy Bob from several fronts. We can go to his employer and we can garnish his wages. Billy Bob's life has effectively come to we own Billy Bob. Billy Bob can't shit now unless we say he can. We can even say that he's capable of getting a better paying job, and if he doesn't, then we can hit him up for more alimony just arbitrarily. We can just do it. And if Billy Bob doesn't like any of this, we can act arbitrarily and administratively. But if Billy Bob doesn't like any of this, he's got to take us to court, and he's got a 2 or 3 year waiting list to have his matter heard. In the meantime, we can strip him of all of his assets if we want, and there's not a damn fucking thing he can do about it. But we're justified in this because he's a poor downtrodden woman with a kid. And are you saying that kid, the little girl dressed in pink, should go hungry because of that asshole straight white male Billy Bob or that straight male Billy Bob? Are you saying the little girl in pink should go hungry? You fucking fascist, fucking Nazi. We've got the moral high ground here. We can break the law, ignore the law, bypass the law. We can do whatever we want because we're morally superior. Now, this is a case where the government can just grab money. I've seen this up close. Guys that have been working on my teams in the corporate world, and you see some guy comes in ashen faced and says they want to hit me up for 10 or 15 years of back child support or alimony or this or that and so on. And then they want, they've taken all the money out of my bank account. I got, the mortgage, the payment for the mortgage or the rent, the check bounced, and I'm getting all these fees and threats from all these financial institutions. So the financial institution takes every penny Billy Bob's got in his account and hands it over. No questions asked. There's no court order or anything, and they just do it because they get some letter from like the alimony people. They hand it over. Without any consideration of the consequences for all the automatic payments that are going to come out of the account, so that suddenly the guy's up for fees. I mean, some of these banks even had the temerity to say, well, we'll give all the money away without telling you, because they don't want to tell you. They won't say, look, you've got 30 days to respond or anything like that. Bang, the money's just gone, and you're a bad guy because hey, you fell behind in your alimony payments. What? I didn't even know I owed any alimony. Who is this woman? I've never met this woman before. Hey, it doesn't matter. You stand in line there for a few years and you can have your day in court when the time comes around. In the meantime, you damn well pay up, you fucking Nazi. So this is a practice that's become increasingly so. Now the government's going to say, well, you've still got legal rights. You can still take it to court. But wait a minute. No, Billy Bob has no legal right. If the money is being taken from him without any evidence, or no, we've got the evidence. The woman signed that form, but that's not fucking evidence, you moron. So there's this idea of seizure of assets, but if you oppose the ideology, you don't have to oppose globalization necessarily. You oppose the ideology or the mechanisms they're using to bring the globalist project about. COVID being one of them, climate change another, and so on. Look at the climate change protesters that block the streets and all this sort of thing. Does the government go after their bank accounts? Does the government go after their funding? Does the government hold them to account? Well, of course not, because they're aiding and abetting the globalist project. But if you're against that, or you question it, the globalist project in any way, or the central planks of how they're bringing the globalist project about, such as race, gender hustling, the climate change stuff, the COVID, if you oppose or question that, then you're opposing globalization. If you're opposing globalization and you're opposing the paymasters of Western governments today, they won't tolerate that. So they'll take extremely high-handed action, and they'll do that arbitrarily and administratively, such as freezing bank accounts, stripping bank accounts, seizing assets like your house or your car. So you come out in the morning to get in your car to go to work or go to the shop or something, and the car's not there. They've just taken it. Why? Because they say you owe money, or they say that it's forfeit for this or compensation for that. Used to have been a court hearing. Now another thing they do is bulk court hearings. So someone will just come along and say, well, you owe us money, and we sent him a letter. That's all I have to do. They just have to say we sent him a letter, and they'll appear in a court, and there'll be maybe 100, 200 or whatever. And they'll so the magistrate judge will just sign off on all of it, like a single pass bulk sign off. But that then allows collection action to take place, whether it be having someone's bank account stripped, or again, motor vehicle seized or something like that, assets seized, or even arbitrarily arrested. Now, technically, you still have legal rights. Technically, you can still take this matter to court. But they can act arbitrarily and instantly. They can act instantly and immediately. They push the button and bang, they've got it done. But if you oppose that, you have to go through you can't act administratively in response. You then have to go through the entire legal process, which they deliberately make long, torturous, painstaking, and expensive for. They don't want you to fight it, and they make it as hard as possible for you to fight it. They'll require multiple filings on multiple days. They'll change the court location hearing. They'll spring directions hearings on you suddenly. So you might get a phone call saying, oh, by the way, that directions hearing that's slated for next week, well, the judge has decided to hear it now. What, you mean now? But I live an hour's drive away. Your problem, buddy. The judge will hear it now. Like a court official will just telephone you. So we're hearing it now. But if you don't turn up, then it'll be postponed for another 6 months. In the meanwhile, in that 6 months, they can still rape you financially for that entire 6 months. And there's not a damn thing you can do about it. The only way you can stop them is with a court. They can act administratively, but the only way you can stop them is with a court order. So you have to, so you say, well, I can't make it there in 10 minutes. We called. So they can tick the box saying, no, we contacted Billy Bob. He didn't come in. So the reality is that they sprung another time on and gave him 10 minutes notice, knowing that it would take him in. So they deliberately frustrate the efforts. Now, if you can afford a downtown firm of lawyers to represent you, which most people can't, then maybe they're just around the corner, their office is around the corner from the courthouse, and you call them and say, hey, you've got to do, and they can quickly send a lawyer over to ask, officially ask for a stay in front of the judge the next day or something like that. But that visit alone, that phone call, that visit alone could cost you over $1,000. And nothing's happened, nothing's been done, your case hasn't been furthered. You've just managed to stop them from frustrating your legal case. That's all you've managed to do. So they build these costs into the exercise as well. They don't want you to fight it. They want you just to accept that you're crushed and beaten. So this is I wanted to sort of bring this home to this anything that opposes globalization. They're checking your tax returns. They're really going after you. But if the reverse is the case, and again, you're Antifa, Black Lives Matter, climate change, any of these groups, to say putting LGBTQ propaganda into 5-year-olds and this sort of stuff, or funding the drag queen story hours and that sort of, you're doing that, then the government isn't chasing it. I mean, they could easily, if they wanted to be even-handed, they could go chase those people as well, but they don't. They're only chasing those who oppose or question globalization, or where the globalists believe, well, these people are, Christians, these are the people that are most likely to oppose us and disagree with us, or the least likely to benefit from what we're doing. So why don't we just sort of pre-crush them, because we know they're going to, be asking difficult questions, whether it be now today or tomorrow. So these arbitrary powers are something that are increasing. This arbitrary, and Trudeau in Canada, and this, but it's happening all over, and it's happening sort of quietly. So the media either don't report it, or if they do, they report it in glowing terms. Trudeau fights Nazis, or that sort of thing. So, but again, the media is globalist controlled. So, you've been with Tacitus today, your pushback channel. Thank you for listening.